So let's begin. So here's the basic idea. We're going to talk about reporting tools. And we have two apps on App Exchange, and we're going to talk about the reporting aspects of those two apps. One is Apsona for Salesforce, which is essentially a layer on top of Salesforce, a user interface layer which appears as a tab within Salesforce. In fact, let's go over to an app that we have, a Salesforce instance in which we have the app installed. Here's a very simple CRM instance with not a whole lot of data that we use for a bunch of development work, and we've installed Apsona in it. It'll show up as a tab here, and when you click it, Apsona will show like this. So this is the base app, Apsona for Salesforce, and it includes a bunch of filtering, data management, and other features. We'll not be able to touch upon the data management side of it. We'll only talk about the reporting and the filtering side of Apsona. On top of Apsona, there is another app, which is Apsona Multi-step reports. Although it is a separate app, it requires Apsona for Salesforce for its operation. So it appears as a tab within Apsona for Salesforce, which this tab right here, multi-step reports. So let's talk a little bit about what these apps do. The base app provides filtered searches, as I said. It gives us the ability to do imports and reporting and so on. And the multi-step reporting app gives you the ability to do cross-object reporting across arbitrarily many objects. You can include any number of built-in or custom objects within your report. You can include any number of steps. There's no limitations as to number of steps, number of objects, and so on. And you'll see examples of how that works. As far as requirements are concerned, both of these apps are browser-based. As you can see, that this is here right here is a Google Chrome browser in which I have Apsona installed. They both support Firefox, IE, and Google Chrome, except that with IE we require the Chrome Frame plugin. They support they fully support native and custom objects, as we said. They work with all Salesforce editions, Group Edition and up. Bug fixes are automatically propagated, which then basically means to say that every time there is a feature enhancement or, God forbid, a bug fix that needs to happen, what we need to do essentially is make an update in our code and push it to our servers. And the next time you hit the Apsona tab within your browser, the bug fix will kick in automatically. So there's really nothing you need to do at your end to keep Apsona updated. Now, let's talk a little about the main benefits of multi-step reporting here, the reporting aspects that are covered by these two apps. Multi-step reports, as I said, can span an arbitrary number of objects, and that's different from some of the reporting tools you may have seen. Salesforce itself, for example, even with the join reports, limits you to, I think, 5 blocks within the join report. And here you can have any number of steps within the report. You also can go up and down in your data model, navigate the data model in any direction you want. As it says here, traverse the data model up, down, via parent, child, lookup, what have you. You don't need report types. You know what it takes to manage report types within Salesforce for reporting. Whereas here, there's no need to manage any report types. It's all built into the reporting engine. There is no need for additional formula or roll-up fields. Now, that's a very common thing that happens that people talk about within the reporting community, where they say, when there is a need to create a calculated field of some sort, they'll ask you to create a roll-up or a formula field within your Salesforce org. Now, that may not always be possible. Depending upon whether you're an admin or not, you may not have the rights to create a roll-up field or a formula field. It is also not possible in some cases to actually technically do it because, for example, roll-up fields cannot be created across plain old lookup fields. You will need a master detail. to do a roll-up field. And none of those are issues within Apsona for Salesforce and Apsona multi-step reporting, because you just need to use the built-in features, and they take care of doing the calculated metric values and so on. And then also, these apps work entirely within your Salesforce org. They do not use an external store. Now, if you compare this with some of the other reporting tools available out there, they will require you to download their data, download your Salesforce org's data into an external store, because Salesforce natively does not support some of the reporting features which they offer. But you have to run the reports against their external store. Not true in this case. It works with the live data within your org, nothing to download, nothing to put in any external store, no security issues, uses the most current data and not a time-delayed synced version. So let's talk about filtering as the first step. You see, whenever it comes to reporting, the first thing that you'll need to do is extract records of a certain type, meaning meeting a certain set of conditions that you stipulate. You say, for example, I want all my partner accounts, or I want all my customer accounts. What you're really going to do is say, you set up a filter that pulls out only the accounts that meet the partner account criterion. So that is a filtering condition. So other examples of filtering conditions, I want those accounts that have at least 3 opportunities associated with them. That is what we call a metrics-based filter condition. I want all those accounts that have at least $50,000 in opportunity value associated with them. Again, an example of a metrics-based filtering condition. There's also quantified filtering and nested filtering, which we'll talk about, which are all supported within plain old Apsona, let alone Apsona for Salesforce. And so let's talk about filtering first here. Let's go over to Apsona here and start looking at the features that it offers. This is I will not talk about the UI per se. A lot of you are already familiar with Apsona, so you're fairly comfortable with this UI. Let's talk about the filtering side of it. Within plain old Apsona, there is the filtering capability that is used within Apsona for Salesforce as well. So when I go into any of these objects, accounts, contact, opportunities, and so on, there is this filter drop-down from which you can simply click New Filter, and it brings up a filter builder like here. And in this filter builder, you can choose fields and values associated with them. So let's actually go over to accounts here and play around with the filter builder there to see what filtrations are possible. All right. To begin, here's the field chooser, which is similar to the field chooser which you might have seen in other products, except it's different in that not only does it show you the fields of the base object, it also shows fields in related objects. So in this case, we're looking at the accounts tab. So this is a filter builder for the account object. The base object is the account object, which means that the top pane here is the one that contains a list of fields for the base object, which is the account object, and the rest of the panes below are fields from related objects, except notice that we have account master record, account parent account as additional panes. What that is saying is that when there is a lookup from the current object to another object, or when there is a master detail relationship from the current object to another object where the current object is a detail, you get a one-to-one relationship between the current object and the other object. And so in this example, there is a one-to-one relationship between the account and the master record for that account. Similarly, a one-to-one relationship between the current account and the parent account. Therefore, we show those in this manner, whereas, but by contrast, there is a one-to-many relationship between accounts and assets. There are many assets in the database associated with one account. So it's shown with an asterisk. The pane associated with the asset is shown with an asterisk to indicate that that is a one-to-many relationship. And that has its ramifications, which we'll get to in just a second. If you look at the fields themselves here, when you pick any of the fields, you'll notice that the relational operator chooser here changes the way it behaves. Right now, it shows nothing. But if I go in here and choose account type, for example, it gives you a range of operators so appropriate for a pick list, because account type is pick list. So if you pull that down, it gives you the valid values of that pick list. So for example, I can say, get me accounts that are either partners or customers by choosing these 4 options. And I click search. And notice what happens. The filter updates the data below, but does not change. So there's a way of, that gives you a way of quickly searching for data elements within this, this object. And you can actually do a tools export and export the data elements that you just retrieved, export the records you just retrieved based upon that filter condition. If you change to a different kind of a data type, let us say you change to a expiration date, it lets you choose one of the options of either date or date only, month only, year, what have you. If I choose year only and year equals 2012, we're talking about picking out all the account records whose expiration date year equals 2012. And we may not have much data in here, but that's, well, I guess we do. So that works okay. Now, let's talk about some of the other aspects of this UI here that are helpful in using this filter builder. There is a key icon next to the record ID. That gives you a way of easily identifying the record ID for that object. There is a link icon, that little thing right there, that gives you an indication of a lookup from this object to other objects. So created by is a lookup to a user. Right? If you open up any of the other guys, like for example, let's say I open up opportunity, and you see that there are lookups to other objects here. There is a campaign lookup, a created by lookup, and so on. Just to make sure, can everybody hear me? Can someone please tell me if there is a problem with hearing? Is audio okay? Well, let me proceed. I'm not sure. It seems like some people are having audio issues. I'm not totally sure. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with this, and we will record this anyway. And the recording will be available on our website, so you can go in and watch it at any time as needed. So let's go back here. Let's look at the opportunity side of it as an example of building a filter that gets us data records based, say, account records based upon driving criteria from a second object. Now, as I said, all of this stuff applies to all objects, both native and custom. And I'm really only using accounts and opportunities as a base for illustrating the ideas, because those are the 2 objects which most people are really totally familiar with. But the concepts that here apply to all objects, both native and custom. So here, let's take a look at the opportunity side. And what I'm going to do is in the opportunity list, I'm going to try and find those accounts that have, let's say, an opportunity in one of these stages. If I open up the stage field and I say opportunity stage is among closed won and needs analysis for at least one record. What that is saying is, get me those accounts which have at least one related opportunity in one of these 2 stages, either closed won or needs analysis. And when I do search, it pulls up the associated records. Notice this chooser. What it is saying is there is a way to quantify on the secondary object. When there is a one-to-many relationship between the base object and the secondary object, Apsona knows about it and lets you choose whether you want to say this condition should apply to all the related records, or to just one of them, or to none of them, for that matter. So what this user is saying is, in this particular case, get me the accounts that have at least one related opportunity among these stages. Also, it is possible to do metric-based filtering. By that I mean that when there is a one-to-many relationship between one object and a secondary object, you can filter on the base object using criteria that are metrics or calculated fields on the secondary object. For instance, if I go here and say, I open up the metrics panel and I ask for number of records, I'm still looking at the opportunity object as related to the account object. I'm looking at the number of records, and I'm saying the number of records is at least 2, let us say. So now we're seeking those accounts that have at least 2 related opportunity records. And when I do a search, I get 24 of them, which are related to 24 accounts which have at least 2 opportunities. And in fact, if you click any of those records and look at the opportunity tab below, then you see the related opportunities as well. So this gives you a way of creating filter conditions that are based on metrics on secondary objects. And of course, you can add any number of terms you want. When you add term, you can add arbitrarily many terms, then you can combine them in lots of ways, and you can actually use the AND or logic just like you're used to within the Salesforce environment. One other thing that is perhaps worth pointing out is that there is a notion of a data model associated with any of these systems. There is this Salesforce CRM data model, for example, which we show on our website, which shows the way most of at least it depicts the more commonly used objects and the way they relate to each other. So this diagram represents the campaign and lead and so on, and the arrows from one object to the other indicate a child-to-parent relationship. So, for example, there is an arrow from opportunity to account to indicate that there is a lookup or a master detail or a detail master from opportunity to account. And this diagram helps in navigating and using the filters the filters and the reports for that matter. So now there is in fact one other aspect of filtering that has to do with nested filters, which basically says, imagine a situation where you want to enforce a filter condition on a particular object based upon criteria from a related object, but not one that is immediately related, one that is perhaps 2 or 3 steps away. For example, if you go back to the data model, suppose you want to find accounts based upon a criterion from opportunity contact role, which is 2 steps away. It's not directly related to the account object. In fact, what you could do in such a situation is use what are called nested filters within Apsona. So you build a filter which actually you can save here. As you can see, when you do a save as filter, it gives you a you guys. And if I do a save as filter, it gives me a little box on which I can save the filter, and those filters will appear here. The saved filters appear here in the filter chooser. And what you can do when you do a nested filter is create a filter on one object and use it on a related object. Oh, I should also talk about exception reporting or exception filtering. That is one key aspect of it. People often ask this question: get me those accounts that have no related opportunities or that have no related contacts. So that you can do in a fairly direct way here. If you go into, for example, contacts, open up the contact panel, right? And let's say we want accounts that have no related contacts. How do we assert that in Apsona? What we do is we open up the contact panel and ask about the contact ID, which is the record ID associated with the contact. The record ID is the thing that uniquely identifies the record of the contact. So when I pick that field, the relational operator chooser changes here. One of the options that it provides is exists, and the other does not exist. If I do an exists here, what that will give me is accounts that do have an associated contact. And when I do a search, it gives me 1,486 accounts that have associated contacts. And you can see that in the panel below. It shows you the associated contact. If I change this to does not exist and do a search, it gives me the accounts that have no associated contacts. As you can see that there are no data records below. So that gives you the ability to do exception filtering directly within this object and carrying it into a saved filter. Right. So now let's talk about reporting per se. Let's talk about what we call single-step reports. Now, what that is the first step, the first kind of semi-complex report that we will deal with are reports in which we want the fields of one object and immediately related objects. So that's supported directly within Apsona for Salesforce. You don't need to go into multi-step reports to create reports within one object and immediately related objects. Any of these, if you hover over any of these menu items, there is this reports item that gives you access to reports that you can build, single-step reports you can build based off of that object in particular. So if I go into accounts reports, I will get a list of the reports that I have built based off of the account object. And what that enables me to do, as I said, is to pick off the fields in the base object as well as the objects that are one step away. So if let's say I create a new report here, and I'm going to call it, say, accounts and opportunities. And I'm going to basically play around with this to show you a bunch of features, because I'm not really looking at a particular set of reports that we're doing as examples, but I want to give you an idea of the kinds of things that are possible given this structure. So when you create a report using the reporting capability, the idea is that you accrue or aggregate the fields that you want into the report from the base object and related objects. Set up the filter terms in the filter tab, set up a sort order if you want, and then run it. So to begin with, suppose I do this. Suppose I say I want the account name and the account type and maybe industry, let's say. And I want up to 10,000 because there may be a lot of records here. And let's say that I'm only interested in say the partner and customer accounts. So I want to go into account type and say I want those accounts that are partner or customer. Notice that the filter that we're building here has a very similar UI to the filter that we built earlier for the list. So it's the same mechanism that we use everywhere for creating filters. So what I'm creating now is a very simple report that only shows me account types and account names and the industry they're in. If I now click save and run, it gives me the 1,425 account records that are partners or customers, and it gives me their industries. And you can see that as you scroll down here. Now, given that the reporting feature is typically used where you want in one report to be able to see data from multiple related objects. That's the reason why we build a report. Here's what we've got is a list of accounts. I'm going to add to this by clicking edit. I'm going back to the the report editor and add to it the opportunities that I got from these accounts. So if I open up the opportunity panel, I can add a couple of different kinds of things here. Given that there is a one-to-many relationship between the base and the related object, I can open up metrics as well. If I simply open up metrics and say, get me the number of records, the number of opportunities, so I can rename it as number of opportunities, like so. And let me also get, from the metric side, the total value of the opportunities, like so. Value, like so, and then say okay, go back up here, save and run, and we get a report in which we've got the number of opportunities and total value for each one of these accounts. And as you can see, we're obviously we never used any of the report types. We did not use any roll-up fields. All of this is being calculated within Apsona for Salesforce directly. Now, if instead of the opportunity count and the total value, well, before going there, let's do one other little small exercise here. I can visualize this in a couple of ways that probably make sense. If I go into visualization and say I want to create, let's say, a little horizontal bar chart in which I want the account type to be the bar label and the total value as the bar value, and say okay. I get a visualization of based upon the different kinds of account types, the total value associated with it. Let's go back and reset that to say, okay. And I don't want any visualization right now. Now, instead of the opportunity amounts and total values, let's say I actually wanted the opportunities themselves. So I can go in and edit this, remove these fields like this, and instead get the opportunity values themselves, or the opportunity fields themselves. So I go into opportunity and say fields, open up the fields panel, get me the amount, get me the close date, date only, and get me also the name of the opportunity. And maybe reorder these guys because it makes more sense to look for the report to look like that. And if I now save and run, I get a report in which for each account name I get the opportunity name, the amount, and the total close date for that opportunity. It's possible to group this. For example, I can say if I do a single level grouping in which I say I want the account name to be the grouping base, and I want in each group I want all the records, and say OK, and I get that sort of a rendition where we've got for each account name the associated opportunities. One question that frequently comes up in the context of these kinds of reporting is that people want to be able to view this data in a couple of different ways. What's happening with this report is, since we made it based upon the account side rather than the opportunity side, if an account has no opportunities associated with it, it will still show up here. In other words, what we're doing is we're creating a left join from account to opportunity. However, sometimes it makes sense to be able to do it the other way. We want to be able to get opportunities that actually exist associated with accounts, and we are not interested in those accounts that do not have opportunities. Now, you can do that in a couple of ways. Obviously, you can filter by saying I only want accounts that do have opportunities, and that's easy to do by clicking edit. But it is also possible to do it by flipping the perspective and saying, instead of making it account-centric, let's make it opportunity-centric. So I could go over to opportunities and click reports there. And if I now create an accounts and opportunities report here, in which I pick off, this time you see that the fields that I get are based on the opportunity. So let's say I get the opportunity name as before. Let's say I get the amount, and let's say I get the close date. And let me also get the account, because I'm mimicking what I did a moment ago. So there's the account name. I drag it over here so that it looks similar to what we did a moment ago. And I of course also want only partner and customer accounts. So I open up the filter chooser, open up the account panel. Notice that now I am filtering the account list, the opportunity list, based on a secondary object, which is the account. So I choose account type and say it is among partner, customer, partner, like so. Make it fairly large, let us say. Save and run. And you get only 427 records this time, because we're losing all the accounts that do not have associated opportunities. Notice that also when you choose the field, in the field chooser, you have fields, you have available objects that were not available on the account side. Campaign, for example, or contact role are available, which were not available on the account side of things. Forecast, by the way, is a custom object that we've built in this demo, or just to illustrate that it is possible to obtain fields from custom objects as well. One last thing about these kinds of reports: when you basically, the development cycle with single step with reports is you flip between edit and run. So as you saw, you build your report incrementally, add your fields as needed, and when you're happy with it, when you do a save and run finally, and you're happy with what you want, you click export, and it exports this thing into a CSV. And if I double click on it, the export shows up directly within your within Excel or whatever your preferred CSV opener program is. So that gives you a way of extracting data from from your report directly. Apsona has these other features for importing as well, so that one of the common use cases people use this for is campaign management, where they extract contacts based upon reports. They create a report, extract the contact from it, and then go off and import it using Apsona into a campaign, so that you can flip back and forth between reporting and data import. Very useful common use case. Just checking to see if okay, it looks like everybody is able to hear me now. So let's. All right. So I'm going to go back after we finish the demo and walk through all of your questions. So let me finish let me next talk about the multi-step reports. So far we've talked about single-step reports, which is basically reports that go from one object to related objects. You will pretty soon hit the limits of the things that you can do with single-step reports. As you well know, I'm sure that you can already identify the kinds of things that you cannot do with single-step reports. You can only go one step, and that's a huge limitation. Also, you notice that the way the filtering works, there is only one filter that you can set on a single step report like this. One filter meaning a set of filter criteria that applies across the board to all of the records, all of the fields involved in that one query. The way Apsona is set up, it actually hits Salesforce with one SOQL query for this report. If you open up Firebug, you will see that that's what happens. There is only one query that is issued for a single step report, no matter how many fields you put in there. And that's intentional because we want to make this thing as efficient as possible. There's still the overhead associated with extracting the data, and that's something we cannot sidestep. But we try to be as quick as possible in creating our reports, in executing them. Now, given that limitation that you cannot go more than one object at a time, the obvious thing to do was to figure out a way to involve multiple objects without any limitations. And that is where multi-step reports kicks in. So let's open up multi-step reports here, and let's start talking about it. When it comes to this, building multi-step reports, you have to have a slight change of perspective. What you view the problem of reporting as being is one in which you create reports based upon steps. So you think of the process as saying, once I'm given a problem specification, I break it down into a series of steps in which each step gets me data from one designated object. And among the different steps, I am allowed to obtain data from different objects, and I'm allowed to be able to weave the data together into one view. That's the basic idea. So you create a step, you pick out an object on that step, obtain the reports on that, obtain the records from that object. Then you create another step on a different object, possibly link the two steps together, which I'll show you how to do, obtain the data from there, and go incrementally develop your report in this manner. So what I'm going to do to illustrate the idea is I'm going to create a report, which is similar to the account opportunities report that we built a little while ago. Given that I want to try and finish up so that we can have time for questions. So what I'm going to do is show you the incremental process of creating one report, and then I'm going to show a couple of pre-built reports that we built earlier so that it will highlight some of the ideas that we may not be able to cover by doing during the build process itself. So again, let's talk about accounts and opportunities. Once again, because these are the two objects that people are most familiar with. They have analogs in pretty much every vertical. The nonprofit domain, for example, calls opportunities donations, but it's basically the same idea. So we'll focus on those two objects as running examples. But what I want to do as the goal of this report is to get the partner accounts, their total total open opportunities, total number of open opportunities, and the total value of open opportunities. And also, for each one of those partner accounts, I want the top 5, or let's say the top 10, closed opportunities. Okay, so if you look at the problem specification here, what are we trying to do? We're trying to create one report that contains data from actually 2 different objects, accounts and opportunities. Well, let's make this a little more interesting. Let's also add their contacts. So the idea is I want partner accounts, a list of all the partner accounts I have. For each one of those partner accounts, I want the total number of open opportunities and the total value of open opportunities on each account. Then I also want for each one of those the top 10 closed opportunities and the contacts associated with those closed opportunities. So you see already that if we break this down into steps, one step gets us the partner account. The next step gives us the total number and value of open opportunities. The third step gives us the top 10 closed opportunities. And the fourth step gives us the associated contacts. That's the approach we will pursue. So first off, let's add a step. Let's call it partner accounts. And from the object chooser, we can choose any of the objects available. All of the objects in this installation show up in this list, and I choose account, of course, because I want partner accounts. I click the Retrieve Fields tab. Here's a list of tabs that lets you specify all of the properties associated with the step that we're trying to build. Among the retrieved fields, I'm going to add the account name, I guess, and the account type. And that's probably enough for now. In the filter terms, again, we have a similar filter builder in which we add a term and say, get me the account whose type is partner. So installation partner, channel partner, let us say. And let's say we range and sort up to 10,000 records and nothing in linkages. We haven't talked about either of these, and we will in a moment. We're building this incrementally, as I said. So let's build one step at a time, make sure that that step works, and go off and build the next step. So the first step simply involves getting the account records. If I now click Save and Run, I get the partner accounts, as you can see. Right? There's 590 records, account name, and account type. Now, that's not enough. Let's build the next step. And so we go off and click Edit and add a step. And in the next step, we want the total number of open opportunities and the total value of open opportunities. So let's say we call this step open opportunities because that's what this data, this thing retrieves, this step retrieves. It comes from the opportunity object. So I'm going to choose opportunity here as the records, as the source of the records. In the retrieve fields, clearly I want the number and value, so I'm looking for metrics. So I open up this field chooser, open up the metrics panel of the opportunity side, and get me the number of records, get me the total value, amount, sum, like so. And I'm talking about open opportunities, as I said, so I want to filter these. So I want to say add a term for the filter in which closed is no, like so, right? And you can add other filter criteria if you so choose. Range and sort it gets me up to 10,000, so that's really a way of limiting the number of records. If you've got a very large database, you really want to make sure that you limit the number of records and not hit your API limits. Now, one thing I have omitted here, a key aspect of it, is that when we're creating this step, we want to be able to link this to the previous step. What we want to do is get those opportunities that arise from partner accounts. How do we do that? The way you do that is you look at the linkage that exists within your database, within your Salesforce org, and mirror that in this report. The linkage exists between the opportunities account ID object, account ID field, and the account record ID field. So those two are the same. That's the way the linkage happens. To set up a linkage, you click the linkage tab, but hey, there's nothing here right now. It says there are no available linkages since none of the previous steps retrieve lookup fields. Okay, we need to fix that. So how do we fix that? We go to retrieve fields in this step, and we make sure that we retrieve the account ID object from account ID field from the opportunity object. So as I said earlier, there's that link icon indicator that tells you, gives you a quick way to find that field. So I'm going to click account ID here. Now, also, when it comes to linkages, you really have to specify both sides of the linkage. So in the previous step, I have to make sure that I have retrieved the account ID as well. So to do that, let me save this step. I save my work, go off to the previous step, look at the retrieved fields and see if I got the account ID. Well, I didn't. So let me pick that off. I go into record ID, pick that off, and click Save. Now if I go into Open Opportunities and look at the linkages, you see that it gives me a chooser that lets me connect this step, the fields in this, the lookups in this step, to previous steps. So there's only one previous step. So in this case, I want this opportunity account matches the account ID that was obtained in the partner accounts step. That's what I'm saying by choosing this option. Right? And when I do that and I click Save and Run, I get the list of opportunities, the open opportunities, the number of opportunities, total amount associated with each one of these guys. Right? So we have done step number 2. So let's look at the next step, which is step number 3, which is I want the top 10 closed opportunities. You already see that that we apply 2 different filters in this case. The 2 steps we built had 2 different filters. The first step had partner accounts. The second step talked about opportunities only. Let's build another step in which we say top 10 closed ops. This again comes from the opportunity object. And this time, I'm not interested in the metrics. I'm actually interested in the opportunity information, opportunities themselves. What are the top 10? So I'm going to choose the opportunity amount. I'm going to get the close date, I guess. Those are the 3 most commonly used fields for opportunities, and the opportunity name, of course. I want it to appear in a different order, so I'm going to drag it, put it over here. Filter terms, what do I want to say? I want these to be closed opportunities, the top 5 closed ones. So add a term, and I say closed is yes. Right? And linkages we'll get to in a second. In the range and sort is where you say, you assert that you want the top 10. And when we say top 10, we want to say top, the first 10 records when ranked by any one of these quantifiable fields. Well, we're obviously thinking about amount as the value when we say top 10. So we want the first 10 records when ranked by amount descending. And of course, we want the linkage to be so that, well, again, I screwed up. I did not get the account ID. Let me go off here, get me the account ID from the opportunity side. Go back to the linkage, and you now see that it gives you the ability to link those up. I want to say opportunity account matches open opportunities account. No, it's partner accounts account ID is what I want it to match, although the 2 are the same actually. So when we do a save and run at this point, you now have the top 10 closed opportunities. Well, we don't have a lot of data obviously in this demo org, so some of them have only 5 or 6, and some of them have none. But you see all of them anyway. Here are the top so-called 10 opportunities associated with Abbey Consultancy. Notice that we've got 3 steps, and therefore we got 3 segments in the header here. There's partner accounts, there's open opportunities, there's top 10 closed opportunities in the table as the output. And last step here, I want to add the contacts associated with those opportunities. So that was one of the requirements here. Who are the contacts that are related with the top 10 opportunities? That's what we wanted. So let's add another step that says related contacts. Here again, we will draw upon the knowledge of the data model. If you go back to the data model here, you see this is a little bit fuzzy, but let's see if we can make it bigger. Okay. You see that the relationship between opportunity and contact goes via the opportunity contact role. So that's where we want to get the relationships from. So we say, get me the data from the contact role object. Well, Salesforce has two different objects with the same name. Let's hope this is the right one. Yeah, this is the right one. That's the relationship between contact and opportunity. So I want to pull out fields from the contact role object this time. And the nice thing about that is, because it's a linking object, I'm able to obtain fields from not only the linking object, but all the objects which look up, which are looked up from it. So I'm going to say, get me the contact name, the full name, and get me their email address. I also want the opportunity ID because I want to link it to the opportunity that we got a moment ago, like this. And then no filter terms, range and sort is irrelevant. Linkage, well, again, I did not retrieve the contact ID. You see, here I retrieved the contact the role opportunity. I did not retrieve the opportunity ID in the close ops step. That is why linkages shows me nothing. So let me save this step. Go back to the top 10 closed opportunities, open up retrieved fields, get me the opportunity ID, the record ID for the opportunity. That one. Save it, come back here to the related contact, look up the linkages, link them up. So opportunity matches top 10 closed ops opportunity ID, and then save and run. Right? So now we have the same report built out a little bit further. We've got the related opportunities associated with related contacts associated with each one of those opportunities. And then also you can export this result into Excel. That's one of the most commonly requested features. Go into export here and click Excel, and in a moment it will pop up. Here it is. Let's open that up. And there's your Excel sheet that contains the accounts, all of the stuff that we built out in this report we have obtained in Excel. Now, we have just a few more minutes in which I want to try and show you a couple of reports that we have already built, because I want to illustrate some of the key aspects of multi-step reports without going through the whole process of building it. So let me look in here and look at partner accounts not in 2011 campaigns. This is one example. So if I edit this report, this thing is an example where I want to find the contacts from the partner accounts who were not in any of the 2011 campaigns. This is a case where you have a negation happening. You want to find out all the contacts, and then you want to omit those. You want to find all the contacts in the partner accounts, and then you want to create a list in which those are omitted from the list of contacts that were reached out to in the 2011 campaigns. So how do we achieve that? Well, we do 3 steps. In one step, we get the contacts from the partner accounts. In the second step, we get the contacts that were in the 2011 campaigns. And in the last step, we do a little trickery to link them up together just right. And let me show you how that works. In the contacts from partner accounts, it comes from the contact object clearly. Retrieved fields are just the ones that you want. Filter terms say these are partner accounts. These contacts come from partner accounts. In the 2011 campaigns, I get the campaign fields, and I filter based upon my 2011 campaigns, as you would expect. And I link them up with, there were no linkages on either of them, because we're only interested in generic lists, a list of contacts in this case, a list of contacts who reached out, who were in those campaigns in this case. This is the step in which we merge them together. When we look at the retrieved fields here, we get the contact full name and email, no filter terms. Linkages is where the trickery is. We've said we want the contact ID in this step to not match the contacts who were in the 2011 campaigns, but to match the contacts who were in partner accounts, which meets this condition. We get the contacts from partner accounts who were not in any of these campaigns. If we run this report, you'll see that it shows up in 3 different blocks, because the linkages don't work the way there's no direct linkage between these objects. So there's one block at the top getting us the contacts and partner accounts, a second block getting us the 2011 campaigns, and the last block, which is the one you're interested in, which is those contacts who were not in those campaigns. I guess we're out of time, so I'm going to stop my demo at this point, and I'm going to start answering questions. Let me see if I can walk through all of the questions here and try and answer them. As I said, if we miss questions, please do send us email and let us know in any way if we can help in any way at all. So let me walk through these real quick. Is it possible to integrate the report output after the report has been configured within the standard Salesforce interface? I'm not sure I understand that question. I'm not sure I understand the question, but possibly you can clarify that, Oliver. Is it possible to delete saved filters and saved mappings done when Apsona is importing? Well, it's possible to delete saved filters, saved mappings not yet, and we can I can show you that separately, Jane, at some point. Let me see. Still trying to figure out what other questions. Apsona interface is not standard Salesforce standard, so it would be great to have no break in interfaces for end users. Well, that's a tough one. We wrestled that with quite a bit. It's really difficult to mimic the Salesforce UI and still have all of the functionality that Apsona offers. That is a seriously non-trivial project, so we'll have to deal with that at some point, I suppose. What is the nonprofit pricing? Well, the pricing is available on our website, so please do take a look. Let us know. For nonprofits, we give away 10 free seats, and we ask for $96 a year per seat beyond that point. $72 a year for Apsona for Salesforce, $96 for Apsona multi-step reports. You can get details on the website. Is there a way to see the socle generated from a multi-step report to see how the linkages are happening? Yes, there is. If you open up Firebug, you can see the socle query that hits the Salesforce server, or if you open up the developer console in Chrome, you can see the same thing. 10 free seats for nonprofits. Yes, that is correct. Only for Apsona for Salesforce, we do charge for Apsona multi-step reports. Let's see. Can you set the join left, inner, right? Well, we're not. We talked about that a little bit. You can't really set it in the normal sense. But if you go from a base object to a child object, you're doing a left join. And if you're going from a child object to a base object, you're obviously doing an inner join, an equi join. How much are multi-step reports for NPSP? Well, $96 per user per year. All right. Any other questions? Do you have to buy a minimum of 10? No. There's no limits on there are no limits on the number of seats you need to buy. How to expose tabs via their settings? Well, we haven't talked about a lot of the aspects associated with Apsona for Salesforce itself. This was really entirely a reports-focused demo. So if there are aspects of the reporting itself that you want clarification about, please ask. I would appreciate that. Apsona for Salesforce itself, we will possibly try and have another webinar about it. Other questions? Is this plug and play, or does IT need to be involved? No IT involvement. All you need to do is go to App Exchange You install your app from the App Exchange listing, and then you're off and running almost instantaneously. There is no setup involved. Apsona does automatic discovery of what you have in your org. In fact, it figures out whether it's running on the nonprofit starter pack or standard CRM, and it configures itself. As a starting point, of course, you will need to configure it to include your custom objects, and that can be done at a profile level and so on. Please do take a look at the data, the tutorials available on our website. They talk about this kind of thing. There is some information about multi-step reporting on our website. It's a work in progress. Still, there's still a lot of work to be done on that side. As you can see, that many of the requests associated with dashboarding and visualization and so on, we have not yet dealt with. Hopefully, that will happen pretty soon. And of course, we'll keep you posted. Other questions? You can buy one seat for multi-step reporting, yes, but for Apsona for Salesforce, if you're a for-profit organization, we require 3 seats minimum. Okay. Anything else, folks? Any other questions? I think that's about it then. If there are no other questions, we can wrap up at this point. Once again, I sincerely appreciate you folks coming to this webinar and spending your time with us. If there is anything at all that we can do to help you use any of these products, please do reach out to us. You can reach me at sridhar@apsona.com. You can reach us at a generic email. You can go to support@apsona.com and send us email. We routinely work with all of our clients on GoToMeeting. You can talk to any of them and you'll see we do our best to help out as much as we can. So please feel free to let us know how we're doing, feature requests, bug reports, enhancements, anything that you feel has value, please let us know. I guess that's about it. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day, everyone. Goodbye.